What's going on? We back. Excuse me, gotta fix myself. Just lounging around the crib. Today was a rainy day in Detroit, and I'm definitely based in Detroit. And we back going live. Second time we going live. First time we was talking about the draft review. Got a lot of good, responses back from going live. So I thought I'd go live again and on some Piston talk. We've been implementing more Pistons talk now than ever now because it's a critical time in the Detroit Pistons franchise. Tom Gores, obviously Bill Davidson, he passed away. Told his wife don't sell the franchise. She did it anyway. The way the game goes, I guess they sold it to Tom Gores. He's a very wealthy man. Um, he has good intentions. I must say this first, but he just don't know the sport. He's no Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft. He's no even a Mark Cuban. He's not that, but we must say Tom Gore's intentions are good for Detroit. He brought the Pistons back to Detroit, and somebody told me that the ticket sales were pretty good. Other than it looked empty, they said a lot of people was in the concourse, enjoying the amenities they had, in the arena. So I drove past it. I haven't been yet. Definitely been on a busy schedule, but it looks beautiful. Right on Woodward. It looks a beautiful place, but um, we got to put a winner out there. And they're talking about now potentially hiring a head coach before they hire a GM. And I think that's the recipe for disaster. You don't do that. Um, in an ideal world, you get your GM first, you get your front office in place, and then you go get the head coach. Because what if you hire a head coach and it ain't what the GM want? And then that's something that the GM can fall back on and say, you know what, y'all forced me to take this head coach. I didn't want him, so that's why my plan ain't working. So let me fire this guy. Let me get my own guy in. Let me give me a full fair shot, and that could be the case. So they need to get a GM in there first. I know head coaching candidates are slim pickings. I mean, you got Budenholzer out there for Atlanta Hawks. You got Finsdale. He already got picked up. A lot of people love Mark Jackson. You got Jerry Stackhouse, who took the Toronto, a G League affiliate, to the finals, to the G League finals twice and won it once. You got other candidates out there as well. Becky Hammond, we talked about her yesterday. She's being a hot candidate out there. Paul Gasol gave her a ringing bell of endorsement. You got different candidates out there that may get swooped up soon because you have the Bucks job that's potentially open. I believe they might have hired somebody. The Hornets hired somebody. Excuse me. The Hornets already hired somebody. You got the Bucks job that's open. The Memphis Grizzlies job I think potentially is open. And I heard that they was potentially looking at David Blatt, the coach that got LeBron got fired from Cleveland. So I don't like that possibility of him coming here. Not saying that it won't work, but I just like to see that them get a general manager like Chauncey Billups or whoever it may be, and then they can pick, who they want to come in here and run this team. I think that's the proper way to do it. I think that's how you do it. I don't know how deep the GM, like who's available. That's some real true hardcore insider information. I know David Griffin, he's available. He used to be the Cleveland Cavaliers GM. I think he was a part of the three number one draft picks they had: Kyrie Irving, Anthony Patterson, I think his name was. He was the biggest bust of all time. That was surprise number one pick. And he picked one more, Andrew Wiggins, and he eventually traded Andrew Wiggins after LeBron said he was coming back. And Andrew Wiggins hasn't developed. I'm not saying he would have developed in Cleveland, but I think them getting Jimmy Butler, stunning his growth in Minnesota. I still think he's a fine young man out there that really hoop. So he's experienced. I mean, the least they can do is do coach GMs. You bring Chauncey in here, a guy that don't have as much experience. You can put him with a David Blatt, with a David Griffin, Brent Berry. They all can learn together. You can have a nice GM coaching tree. But I tend to want to get somebody from a winning organization. San Antonio, they had Sam Presti, who went over to Oklahoma City Thunder, who totally killed it in Oklahoma City. I mean, Durant, Westbrook. I'm not sure if he was part of the Durant trade, but I know he really built that team and put it together. I think he was Westbrook, Harden, Ibaka, Steven Adams. He got Paul George over there for Victor Oladipo. So he's somebody that's good. So if you want to pick back off of that San Antonio tree, similar to what the Lions did with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn, that would be popular. But right now, Chauncey is seen as the toast of the town right now. Everybody wants Chauncey Billups, and Flip Saunders was going to want Chauncey Billups to run the Timberwolves organization and wanted to be him the head coach. Before he passed away, Chauncey didn't want that responsibility. He didn't want it. So As a head coach, he wants to be a GM. He wants to be a front office guy. He passed up the Cleveland Cavaliers job not too long ago, last offseason. Um, and Detroit would be ideal for Chauncey. I mean, um, you know, we love him here, and we don't know how he is as an evaluator of talent, but that's key. I think that's the number one thing about this job is evaluating talent in the draft, because the Pistons have historically missed on Melo, Bosh, um, Dwayne Wade. They missed on Giannis Antetokounmpo for KCP. They missed for Yuri Gobert for KCP. They missed on Devin Booker, who's a local product from Grand Rapids, with Stanley Johnson. They missed last year with Donovan Mitchell by taking Luke Kennard, and they missed on Kyle Kuzma as well. So, I think evaluating talent and being able to draft is the number one priority for the GM for the Pistons. I think number two is what you're gonna do with these high salaries. What is your plan around Drummond, Griffin, and Reggie Jackson? Reggie Jackson's contract is up in 2020, so he got one more year to end the contract year. That's an attractive contract. Blake Griffin, my whole scenario on Blake Griffin, if Paul George walks in Oklahoma City, I trade him over to Oklahoma City for peanuts just to get the contract off. Drummond, love the kid, 22, 23 years old. I trade him off, and I trade Reggie. I just start off from scratch, a sorry team, and we build up from there. You build up through the draft, and that's how you do in the NBA. It's not the NFL or the MLB. You get some free agents, you get some draft picks. You can change your fortunes in one year. NBA is not like that. Their farm system is as strong as the MLB. Their draft system isn't, or their draft pools aren't strong as the NFL as well. It's not strong. So you gotta be able to be high in the draft, or you have to be an elite chooser of talents, like San Antonio was when trading George Hill for Kawhi Leonard in the draft. Nobody knew Kawhi Leonard was gonna be that good, but the Spurs did an okey doke with the Indiana Pacers and got Kawhi Leonard. You see the Bucks, they hit with Giannis Antetokounmpo. You see the Lakers hit with Kyle Kuzma. You see all these different other people. They hitting in the middle of the draft. The San Antonio is historically hit at the end of the draft. Tony Parker, Ginobili. Golden State they didn't have all their top players in the Durant before it got there. They weren't a top 5 pick. Curry was a top 10 pick. They hit on him after the Minnesota trade for pass on Johnny Flynn. Well, after they took Johnny Flynn and Rubio, they hit on Klay Thompson like 12. He had issues coming out of Washington State. They on Draymond in the second round. They acquired Iguodala from Philadelphia. They did a lot of great moves. So the Pistons have to be in that same vein. They have to have an evaluator of talent that's superb and knows the type of players he wants to put in place. And I think that's imperative to be number two. And number three, they got to make the day-to-day operation calls. They got to make the tough calls. And they got to have the coach they want in place. I think it's very, very important that they get the coach they want. It ain't we going to hire a coach first, and then you just going to roll what we say do. Tom Gores can't do that. And they got to have Tom Gores' ear. They got to have his ear. And obviously, Van Gundy was able to have free reign to do what he wants with the Pistons. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. I heard people say Isaiah Thomas. I just think he got too much baggage from New York City to bring here. We don't need any more baggage. We don't need any more BS in Detroit with the Matt Patricia thing coming on, which I will do another video. Some more stuff came out about the Matt Patricia. I'm just gonna stay current with that, but we need somebody that's clean as slate, that knows basketball, that has a guy in mind that he wants to coach the team and have a direction. If you come into an interview with Tom Gores, even though, like I said, he's not the brightest sports fan out there, you interview a GM, you want him to have a plan for the Pistons. He needs to have a plan. Well, we want to do this, that, and that. This is what we're going to do with Drummond. This is what we're going to do with Griffin. This is what we're going to do with Reggie Jackson. This is what we're going to do with Ish Smith. This is our plan to build this team the right way. We plan on being able to evaluate the talent very, very good and bring these draft picks in very, 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 very good. We don't want to miss on draft picks. We have a plan in place for how we want to take this team, and they got a plan in place. It sounds reasonable. Tom Gores need to have assistance from the NBA, to have somebody there to help him with the hiring process and build it from there. Don't go get a coach and then force a coach with his GM, and don't get a coach and let him be the GM and have full reign in the front office no more. You keep those jobs separate. If the GM got a head coach, that obviously means they have a personnel agreement on the personnel that they want on the team. Of course they're gonna butt heads, but you want him to have his own pick, so it won't be no excuses if you gotta fire him or shit don't go right. Excuse my language. Because if you draft that, if you pick this head coach first and you stick Mike Bodenholzer or Dwayne Casey or Becky Hammond or whoever you pick to be the coach, Jerry Stackhouse, Frank Vogel, you stick him with a GM and he be like, man, I don't even like his philosophy, you know. Because, you know, let's say, for example, Frank Vogel is a tough defensive-minded guy, and you stick him with all offensive players. And none of the guys he got can play defense. That ain't fair to him. It's the same thing that Stan Van Gundy did to himself. Stan Van Gundy went out and got some of the most prolific offensive players that he could find. But then he want to ask them to play grade A defense. Reggie Jackson ain't played a lick of D in his whole career. Blake Griffin ain't no defender neither. You know, Ish Smith can't defend nothing. He's too small. So you get rid of all these defenders, and then obviously we didn't want to pay KCP, which I agree with that. He was a good defender. Obviously, Avery Bradley had his issues about the sexual assault case that he caught in last year's Eastern Conference Finals that came up and got him traded. It wasn't no injury. He had too much baggage. They didn't want that on their watch, so they got rid of him. Tobias Harris, he couldn't guard shit. You know, he wasn't no good defensive player. He had effort, but he wasn't a good defensive player. So Stan Van Gundy being a GM with Jeff Bowers, they brought the wrong personnel for the type of ball he was trying to play. He was trying to bring hard-nosed defensive ball and turn offensive players that never really played defense in their career into defensive cold stove stoppers. And that ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, his evaluation of talent was terrible. He brought Stanley Johnson in, and that's a stone cold defensive player, but he can't score a lick. He has no offense. He has not developed. They had Chris Middleton at one point. They had Spencer Dinwiddie at one point. I believe he drafted Spencer Dinwiddie coming off a knee injury from University of Colorado State or something like that. Didn't really get a kid a chance. And that's another thing that goes on my GM and head coaching list. We must play rookies and young players and let them develop. The Henry guy we got, the Henry Ellerby, I don't know the guy's name. We drafted a couple years ago. Why is he sitting in a deep freezer, man? Why is he on the bench? He should be in the rotation. We're not going nowhere. He should be playing big minutes from the beginning. You understand me? The Pistons have historically, since Joe Dumars have been there, put rookies in a deep freezer and don't play him. Tayshaun Prince, they just pulled him out just because we about to lose to the Orlando Magic. And you pull him out, he can play. He started 4 years in Kentucky, so why is he sitting on the bench? Aaron Aflalo was another guy early in his career that can play. Sat on the bench, we traded him. He went to Denver or Sacramento. He started tearing it up. Chris Middleton, another guy that sat on our deep freezer and our bench. Went to Milwaukee. Now he's a borderline all-star. Spencer Dinwiddie started to get a chance at Brooklyn. Got it. We drafted. We let go. He went to Brooklyn. He put up some great numbers this year when D'Angelo Russell went out. You know, we sending players we getting rid of players that can really play on the end of our bench because we never gave them a real chance in the NBA game. And when have we came close to being a championship team? We haven't been close. So you have to develop talent and let these rookies play. I'm not saying you got to start the freshman Fab Five from Michigan, but you got to let some of these young guys in the rotation. I think that's something that needs to be cleared up with the GM as well, too. We want to develop young stars or young talent. If we develop them now, see what we got, and they don't work out now, we trade them somewhere else and they go somewhere else and blossom and bloom, okay, we tried our best. They did better in Milwaukee, Toronto, New Jersey, or Brooklyn, wherever it is. They did better there. But they got people that sat on our bench that went other places and developed. The personnel development is very crucial in this GM hire and head coach hire. If you're a head coach and you talking about a rookie's got to earn their spot, this ain't the spot for you. Rookies should be automatically in the rotation, first round, second round, because your team ain't deep enough not to develop talent. It's not deep enough, you know. So that's very, very crucial in what they're looking for. Coach and Tom Gores don't know no better, man. Me and you and the 6 other people watching, he don't know no better than us. We could run the Pistons better than he could. But the fact of the matter remains that he's the top owner, and hopefully he reaches out to the NBA for assistance to know how to run the Pistons. You know, but will he do it? I think he's a smart guy to do it. But like I said, man, those are crucial points, man. The GM should be able to hire his own coach. He should come in with a plan for the salary cap and free agency. What he gonna do with Griffin, Drummond, to give a brief rundown of what we talked about. What he gonna do with Reggie Jackson? You know, what he gonna do? Is he gonna trade him off and start from scratch? Or what is his views on evaluating talent in draft? How do we evaluate talent? How are we evaluating these? How's your scouts different from what the scouts we already had? Or how are you gonna mold the scouts and how to look for talent? You know, that's the top 3 things right there. You know, the GM should be able to hire his own head coach. He should have a plan for Drummond, Griffin, and Jackson, if you're going to trade them, or what are you going to do to create cap space to bring talent in? What is this plan on evaluating talent? Is he going to turn over the scouting staff, or if he going to retrain the scouting staff to see how they can evaluate talent better than they have been doing? That was very key. And what is his plan on developing young talent? Are we going to play the young talent right away, or do you want to go with the norm what the Pistons been going through and keeping the talent on the end of the bench and not giving them a chance and hurting their morale? And they seeing players they know they better than sitting on the bench or at least close to, and they riding on the bench. Because this is all things that needs to be answered. This is even more critical than how much money you asked for to come here. That's way more critical. I need to know those 4 or 5 things first. Then we could talk about money. And I'm pretty sure that's not nothing they asked about Stan Van Gundy. Oh, you coach Shaq or your brother Jeff Van Gundy on TV. Oh, you took the Orlando Magic to the 2009 Finals versus Kobe. You signed, but he couldn't evaluate talent. He's never been in a position in the front office to evaluate talent. Nobody ever talked about that. And obviously, he couldn't evaluate talent. Him or Jeff Wallace. We went over it before. And then going back to Joe Dumars, he was a shitty talent evaluator. And historically, we never got the chances Cleveland got. 3 number 1 picks. We never got those chances. We got number 2, Darko Milicic, where I know we got Grant Hill pretty high. So we need to know, can you find those needles in the haystack? Can you find a Giannis? Can you find a Rudy Gobert? Can you find a Tony Parker? What's going on, yo Sixers? Definitely keep Reggie Jackson for next season. Look very promising after being fully healthy next season. I'm over Reggie Jackson, but I agree. You could keep him. Because after next season in 2020, that $16 million contract that's expiring is going to be very attractive to a team that's trying to create cap space. But Reggie Jackson will fool you. He'll come back and be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Because he was just benched the year before that. So he come back and look good, but then at the end of the day, mentally, he just go haywire. He just want to be a scorer. And if you telling me we bring in Larry Brown as a consultant that can help develop Reggie Jackson, I'm with it because Larry Brown developed Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups, I'm not going to say he was the same thing as Reggie Jackson, but he's a dude that just wanted to score. He's a dude that just wanted to get buckets. And Larry Brown molded him into the point guard that he is today. So if you can get somebody that can mentor Reggie Jackson, which it seemed like Stan Van Gundy, like Yo Sixers said, started to get through Reggie Jackson, I'm cool with it. Because if he walks somewhere and somebody else develop him, he become an all-star because he has the ability to be an all-star. Trust me. He has the tools. It's just the mentality. I think he played behind Westbrook too long. Just think that's the norm in NBA for a point guard. And if it's just Guillaume want to say, you know what, I want to see Drummond, Griffin, and Jackson together right now. And we got a plan to see what we can do to make some trades to fill in the gaps between them. Or I want to see what Stanley Johnson got. I want to see what Reggie Bullock got. I want to see if we really can, the coach can really mold this and the coaches in agreement, see if he can develop the team and develop those stars. Because at the end of the day, okay, I'm saying that, before I get off, I'm saying that I'd rather just tear down and just do it the right way. And that's cool. But then and coach these guys up like a Dwayne Casey or a Frank Vogel, and they can coach these guys up and develop guys and develop Ish Smith off the bench, which he's close to being very developed and being the best he can be. He can get a role for Reggie Bullock. He can get through the Stanley Johnson offensively and develop him and stroke their egos and stroke their mentality. If they can get together and play ball, how weak the East is, the Pistons can go from being a 9 seed, which misses the playoff, to being a top 3 seed. None of these teams are scary out here. If you get Blake Griffin to continue to be healthy and play on his level, you can get through the Drummond, who's 22, 23. He still ain't even close to hitting his prime. And you can get through Reggie Jackson. That's great. You just got to be able to, find some shooting in there. You got to find some. You got to find a role for Bullock. You got to find another shooter. You got to do something in free agency to get somebody that's underrated. But that's what's hard because they so strapped for cash right now that it's hard to have that flexibility right now. So you're gonna have to move one of them. Because you need flexibility. You need the girth of the team. You need the role glue players. You need those strong glue players, and they don't have the money for that right now. If I had to move one, it'd be Blake Griffin. I'm sorry, I like Blake, but if I had to move one, it'd be him. I would shoot him to Oklahoma City. That would free up like $30 million in cap. Easily. That's plain and simple. Because if Paul George walks, Oklahoma City gonna be looking for something. I heard they might be trading Westbrook. That sounds crazy, but I don't think they're gonna do that. You're gonna trade one of the top 5 players in the league, no matter how much you want to develop as a point guard position. You gotta get a coach there that can develop them. and make him be a point guard, or you got to make the adjustment to get a point guard in there and let him play off the ball. And if Paul George walks, with my puppies upstairs playing around with my daughter, if you hear that, and if I yell "shit the hell down," I'd be wrong, right? But before I get off, it's all for the GM. I'm gonna break down what we talked about real quick before we log off, and I appreciate everybody. Hit the like button if you can. If not, hit the dislike button, to comment or something. But we talked about the Pistons maybe trying to hire a head coach before the GM. I think that was dumb. So I think as far as the GM role, they need to be hire the GM or get with the GM, see the plan that he has for the salary cap with Dre, Griffin, and Jackson, and see what he thinks. Does he want to trade them all, trade some, or do you want to see if he can get a head coach in there that can develop them and see what they got for now? Then you want to talk about for the GM what head coach he gonna have, what's gonna be their position on the personnel, like we talked about. Do they want to develop young rookies? Are we gonna play these young rookies right away? These young players are not develop. What we're gonna do what the Pistons been doing, send them in the deep freezer until it's too late, and they go somewhere else and develop. And making a day-to-day operation. So we're gonna be back on later. I'm gonna try a video about Matt Patricia. Some new news came out. And I totally agree it's bullshit on him. People took my video the wrong way yesterday. They just tell you when you do longer videos, people's attention spans are shorter out here. I said in the perfect world, the Lions should fire Matt Patricia. Because if these are their hard stances with Martha Ford step for domestic violence and all this other stuff, by her law, and now that what's coming out about the story, he should be fired. Or voided his contract. But I said if I'm making decisions, he's staying. I'm not going to let the Detroit News, Deadspin, or the NFL dictate what I do with my coach. Because if he wins, this is forgotten. So I wanted to get that out there. I'm keeping Matt Patricia here. I like what he's been talking about, and I like what he stands for as a man, other than what happened in '96. So we'll be back to talk about that. I appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us at Motor City Sports Talk on Facebook. I'm going to be doing some more content, and we about to create the Instagram page. I'm going to do that today. So I had the information on that in the Twitter page on the next video we do today. Appreciate y'all. We gone.